Hi, this is James Roriz. Over the last 30 years, I've been on an obsessive quest to help CEOs and sales leaders of high-growth companies build sales growth engines capable of tripling year-over-year growth without adding a single salesperson. So starting off as a salesperson, the only advice I was given to learn how to sell was go read a few books, go take some courses. The challenge with that is that there are hundreds and thousands of options out there. And what I discovered very quickly was that each of these options were really only representative of how other people have figured out how to sell themselves. And so there's lots of contradicting ideas, lots of ideas that didn't work for me. So instead of thinking about how to sell, I thought about how to help my customers buy. The transformative component of how we help people think about how to sell is put yourself in the buyer's shoes. Let's develop a customer-centric approach to the sales process. And let's start with thinking about and understanding how people buy. When people decide they're going to make a purchase decision, the first thing they have to do is answer the question, why change? People buy when they're ready, willing, and able to change. The first question is, why do I need to do anything different? And how many of us talk to prospects who have no intention of changing? They just want to see our demo. They want to get the free education from us about where they are, where they should be, understanding our technology or our capability, maybe thinking about whether or not they're paying the incumbent that we're competing against too much, but they really have no intent to buy. So why not start every buying conversation with the question, why change? And have the client convince you that it makes sense for them. Then the second question that people have to ask and answer before they make a buying decision is, why now? So I need to change, or I want to change, but why should I change now? Well, typically because the impact is too great to ignore, right? There has to be a business case or a value proposition that makes it important to do now, creates some urgency. And then the next question is, well, why buy? Why buy anything? It could be a great time to change. The value proposition could be significant, but maybe I can do it myself. Maybe I can make that change myself. Maybe I can figure it out myself. Maybe I have every asset or tool that I need to do that myself. If I do, then I don't have to buy anything from you. So what I have to do as a salesperson now is understand and answer the question, why buy? And typically it's because they have must-have requirements that they cannot replicate themselves, that they cannot get from their incumbent. So why change? Why now? Why buy? And then the last question is, why you? What makes you different? So if you think about how you make purchase decisions, you'll probably follow, if you're honest with yourself, the same 4 steps in the process. Why change? Why now? Why buy anything? And then why you? So all I did was reverse engineer that and think about, okay, as a salesperson, now the answer to the question, why change, has to be because you want something that's big enough to make the effort worthwhile. And then why now? Because the impact is too great to ignore. Why buy anything? Because there's something I need. There is a need that's blocking me, that's holding me back, that's preventing me from achieving what I want. And then why you? I would only buy from you if you could deliver the want, impact, and need required to make me successful. And that's one thing that most sales processes, if not all of them, at least all the ones that I've looked at, miss. They all talk about pain or problems, but they do a very poor job of identifying what pain means or what problems are. In the WINS methodology, the want, impact, and need, the win, equals that compelling problem that must be solved. And so if you start the process by defining the problem, then it's a natural conversation or a natural extension of the conversation to talk about your solution. So let me give you an example of the power of the WINS model. Whether you're a salesperson, whether you're a leader of a team or an organization, or whether you're a parent or a coach. One of my favorite stories is one where I had a conversation with my 8-year-old daughter. She's now much older. But at the time, she was learning how to ride a bike and very active outdoors with her friends. And I was concerned about her safety. And so I applied the WINS model to that conversation. Now, what I could have done was gone out and bought a bike helmet, brought it home and just said, here, honey, put this on. I anticipated her resistance to that, right? So I anticipated the fact that she might have said yes, especially if I forced her, or I threatened her, or I said because I said so, or because if she didn't, I'd take something away from her. I mean, I could have, as her father, I could have used all kinds of means to force the issue. But I anticipated the resistance and recognize that that wouldn't work, right? Because even if she put it on, it would have ended up in the woods as soon as she turned the corner. And by the way, she wouldn't have learned the most valuable lesson, which is why? Why wear the helmet? And so instead of taking that approach, I just simply asked her a question. Honey, how many times would you have to fall off your bike and hit your head before you couldn't play with your friends? And she thought about it. She said, well, Dad, I mean, I might fall off and hit my head, get a scrape or something. Maybe I put a Band-Aid on it, but in a couple hours or in a day, I'd be fine and out there playing again. Not a big deal. So I asked another question. How many times would you have to fall off your bike, hit your head, and never walk again? And she thought about it. What's the potential of that? How fast do you typically ride on your bike, right? Do you ride in the street? Do you ride on the sidewalk? 50-50, both places. What's the likelihood that you get distracted, maybe hit a rock or something that causes you to fall off your bike and potentially hit your head on the curb? How many times does that have to happen before you become permanently injured? Now, at the time, she loved to dance. The thought of not dancing for her was traumatic. But she now recognized, even before I suggested safety is a concern, she recognized the why of the conversation that I wanted to have with her. So that was the wants conversation, right? And then, of course, bundled with the impact, which is, oh my gosh, I might never be able to ride a bike again. I might never be able to dance again. I might never be able to walk again. And so the next obvious question that she came up with, well, what do I do about it? That's the needs-based question. How do we prevent this from happening? What's missing? Do you have anything around here that you think could protect you? That was my question. We looked around, nothing there. What do you think would protect you? And then all of a sudden, she became my partner now in solving the problem, identifying the need, and then coming up with answers that would fit the requirement. We came up with a helmet. She went even further to elbow pads, knee pads, etc. I didn't want her going out into the world fully armed as if she was heading out to battle. So I kind of dialed it back, but it was nice to have that kind of enthusiasm. We went and shopped ourselves. I didn't go buy the helmet in advance and say, here you go. I was anticipating you'd want this. Here you are. We went and shopped for something that she wanted. Now, anticipating the resistance that she would get from her friends, because she would be the only one of her friends wearing a helmet, I brought up that resistance early in the process. As we were shopping, I was asking her, do you think your friends would dig this? Do you think your friends would think this is cool? Would you think this is cool? Now, to her credit, she said, Dad, I don't care. She cared more about her health. But that was a real powerful way for me to kind of gauge where her head was at. We bought the helmet she wanted. She went out and had a lot of fun. And I was surprised to see that she had her helmet on when she came back that day. And I asked her how it went, and she said, her friends asked her why she had the helmet on, and they gave her a hard time. And she just smiled at them, she said, and just asked the same question of them that I asked of her. How many times do you think you have to fall off your bike before you can't play baseball again? She became the coach. It was a great experience and a great win and a great example of how this methodology really can transcend any situation that we might face in our lives where change is the important objective in front of us.